When you ask me what I fear most that we, in the choice we have to make in the next months, whether we come together and we work together to bring our economy up and make it a better economy, fairer economy, with less inequalities, more equality for countries and for people, and also a greener economy, one that would help us deal with another huge challenge we face as human race, this of climate change. And how we make these choices would depend, of course, of leaders, and it would depend on each and every one of us. What do we want the world for our children to be? So I take this to be also very critical for the fund, how the fund acts as an institution that brings money, advice, but also integrity, commonality of purpose.
So it's not just getting through this, it's coming out the other end with a better world, not a worse world. And this really speaks to the whole Atlantic Council mission about shaping the future together with allies and partners. So question, could it get worse? Could we have an economic decline worse than the Great Depression in some respects? And as you look at the whole globe, where do you have the most concern?
Well, in our report in the World Economic Outlook, we actually did answer this question. Yes, it can get worse. It can get worse if during the second half of the year, there is still significant lingering impact of the pandemic that forces either return to the lockdown, to the great lockdown, or very slow reopening of the economies. It can get even worse if the pandemic goes on a second round the world trip. But there are also tremendous opportunities to shift the economy faster towards the knowledge economy and to have a mechanism of our tax policies, our overall macro policies that favor addressing these risks in a way that would bring a fairer standing of people and countries on the other side.
Thank you for that. You are the first managing director from an emerging market country. I think it's very important to say that at a time where the hit has not yet moved fully to emerging market countries. Could you have a situation unfold where the gap between rich and poor does not just become greater within a country, but between emerging markets and developed countries? And is there enough firepower? Is there enough capability to ensure that doesn't happen?
Well, we are very concerned about emerging markets and developing economies because on top of being hit by the pandemic itself and having to join the great lockdown, they're faced with additional fairly serious problems. Those of them that are commodity exporters, and many are hit by collapse of commodity and oil prices. Those that depend on the injection of capital, and practically everybody in this group depends on that, are seeing flight to safety of gigantic proportions, much bigger than during the global financial crisis. $100 billion have left emerging markets because of this fear of the unknown. And then many of these countries depend on remittances. Remittances has shrunk. we are estimating some 20 to 30% already decline of remittances. I am particularly worried about countries that even before this crisis were in a weaker position. The same way the virus hits more severely those that have preconditions with weaker immune systems, the crisis hits weaker countries much more severely. So where are we as an institution? The good news is that we have 4 times more money today than before the global financial crisis. So the global financial crisis pushed the world to expand the capabilities of the fund. We have $1 trillion lending capacity. And in any conversation I have had with the shareholders of the fund, they would like us to stay focused on delivering with what we have, but not shy away of assessing the situation. So if more needs to be done, one of our ministers would say all options on the table. If more needs to be done, we will be able to step up and do it.
Compared to 2008, 2009, do not have as much international commonality of purpose as we had then, and therefore is domestic actually leading the international commonality of purpose?
Let me go back to what I said in the beginning, that this is a truly global crisis. Everybody hurts. And it is a crisis with very high degree of unknown, uncertainty. As a result, what we have seen is stepping up domestic efforts, and understandably so. If people are dying in your constituencies, and they are begging you to take action to protect lives and also to protect livelihoods, to come up with a bridge over this huge slump in the economy, then it is understandable that we have seen very massive engagement. Not only it is understandable, it is actually great, because when large economies are stepping up and they are protecting from a dramatic collapse, that has positive spillover effect for the whole world. So, and actions have been unprecedented, the same way this crisis is unprecedented. $8 trillion of fiscal measures. I mean, in comparison with the global financial crisis, 1.5% of GDP more. Massive injection of liquidity from central banks. I also would argue that we have seen the world coming together in record short time, an agreement on moratorium on bilateral official debt under the G20 umbrella.
For all the money that you cited that's out there, China and India fiscally have not put so much in. And I wonder what particularly could speak to the issue of China as it seems to be the first emerging toward growth, and whether how you're looking at China and where it's going, and whether the world should actually expect extra responsibility perhaps from China, particularly in the fiscal realm.
We were very pleased to see that the Atlantic Council took the fiscal aspect one step forward to compare to the global financial crisis. So 2 points on China. The first one is that in comparison with 2008, 2009, China has not that much in terms of fiscal space. It has plenty, but in 2008, 2009, China was in a position, because it did not have a hit on its own economy in the large magnitude that it has been in advanced economies, to lead the emerging markets out of the global financial crisis. Now China is acting actually quite significantly. It has put, in our estimate, around 5% of GDP in various forms of measures. And China is thinking that there would be, if you wish, a second bite of this apple when a fiscal stimulus is to be put in place to energize the recovery.
And we've had a number of people, because people are concerned that we could lose our focus on climate this period of time with everything else pointed at us. So how do we, and you've been a leader in this area and you've tried to lead the fund in this area. What do you see as the next step?
On the question of climate, look, Mother Nature is not going to let us forget that climate change is a major risk to the well-being of people and the well-being of economies. So I know that right now we are concentrated on the immediate emergency, and rightly so. But as we deal with COVID-19 and we restart economies, it is a great opportunity to see what are the policies that we can put in place and even accelerate so we have resilient, climate-friendly growth in the future. Because if we don't, then we are going to see an acceleration of another type of risk, and it is the climate risk. So what are the areas we can pursue? Well, oil prices are very low. Very good moment to phase out harmful subsidies, taking advantage of these low oil prices. The necessity to rely on food supplies that are sustainable, that is a good reason to move into green agriculture, sustainable agriculture. We would have mortgages, people would have difficulty to service their mortgages. What if we decide to have a program that if you retrofit your house, you get a discount on how you service your debt, or you have a prolongation of servicing that debt? There are many policy ideas that can serve us really well. So we come in a way better off. You know, a crisis never to be missed as an opportunity to do better. And I want to finish, I'm doing the same in my own institution. I'm looking at the way we work now, all in from home, all virtually. Well, I don't have any intention when this crisis is over, and as Lincoln would say, this shall also pass. I'm not going to beg the way it was. It's going to be better.
Madam Georgieva, what a wonderful note to end on. On behalf of everybody listening in, let me thank you. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for your inspiration toward greater global unity and a greater effort of shaping the world together. Thank you, Madam Georgieva.
Thank you for having me.